So, do we want to start now, or do we start? Oh, starting right now. Sweet. Okay. My name is Ajay. I'm from the Bronx. I'm biracial, and my show reflects it. My show is called Latchkey, and it's about 3 young biracial childhood friends who decide to shoot a public access show in the pursuit of finding representation in media. They choose a location of the haunted grounds of Roosevelt Island to do it. At the center of this show is Rosie Wilkerson, a 24-year-old biracial screenwriter who's reached a crossroads in life. Either use her white passing identity as a Trojan horse, even if it kills her soul in the process, or take the plunge into uncertainty and create the weirdest, wildest, and blackest show imaginable with her 2 childhood friends. She chooses the latter, and along with Desi Phillips, a bipolar playwright and part-time exorcist, and Samantha Thomas, a young black cinematographer from the King, they go about creating something that's more special than they ever imagined. The show is kind of based on my personal experience as a biracial screenwriter, as a biracial filmmaker with black friends who never really find the representation that they want. So in some ways, this show is a liberation for myself and the people I choose to cast in it. As the show progresses over the 13-episode season, these characters go from creating a TV show with the hopes of creating their own reality to actually working the reality around them, using the fertile ground of Roosevelt Island as a way to contact things they never would on the mainland. They use this as a way to document, and they use it under the guise of a fictional show, even though they're shooting real paranormal activities to show that blackness is beautiful and exuberant, and blackness can raise the dead, and blackness can create paranormal things and can come out of the Black Lagoon and create new things. And as the show progresses, they find themselves at odds with the people who they broke free from. The people who are realizing, oh shit, this person's creating a better show than I ever created. How do we buy it? How do we go to Roosevelt Island? How do we take the rights from them? So halfway through the show, it goes from 3 kids who are really finding their own liberation at the arts and crafts table to going to odds with the big wigs that they never thought would contact them in the first place. Latchkey is an original vision that's like no other. I know because I obsessed over it for the past 3 years. I know because this is based on my own oppression as a screenwriter. I know because this is based on things that I wanted to view as a child. I wanted to see black people be brought from life instead of being killed in front of me. I wanted to see black kids go to space and black geniuses who never really had the chance. I wanted to see black people who are dealing with mental illness but find a way to circumvent it. Instead of being institutionalized, they create something that's all their own. And by the end of this 13th season episode, they find liberation. So that's Latchkey.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
RJ. What is it?
Ajay. Say AJ with the short sounding A.
Ajay.
Yeah.
Great job. I thought that was really, really special. I think it's always so important. First of all, I always like to say this, that like, you will never give a 3-minute pitch. Like, that's just not how we hear pitches. So it's always like, take a breath. It's a lot to get through in a very short amount of time. I would recommend taking a quick beat and slowing down, just even if it is only 3 minutes, because there was a lot there. There's a lot of really great stuff there. But I missed some of the other actual tangible stuff about what the show was. I loved how important the show is to you. I think it's so important to showcase your voice when you're pitching and to explore what excites you about this material, and I got that and I love that. I also love that there's something as like a part-time exorcist. That's a great job. I think that in terms of the pitch itself, I would have loved to learn a little bit more about the show that they were creating. I was a little confused about what exactly the show was and how that sort of played out. I would have loved to know a little bit more about the tone as well. I think it's really cool that there's this sort of supernatural element to it, but I couldn't quite get a sense of what your show's tone was. You know, is it a little bit like Search Party, where there's sort of a comedic mystery genre element to it, or is it a straight up sort of horror genre take? But I think that there's something so infectious about your excitement about this idea, and stories about groups of people who are exploring their identity is something that I always get excited by. So I think, great job.
Thank you.
We don't do 3-minute pitches, but if you have that time, don't tell me your name, right? Because you already know you, right? Because you
Right.
got to room with me.
Right, right.
I mean, yours is different. And also, I mean, you have great themes, the biracial, paranormal. I'm from the Bronx, I care about that, but really, no one lets you know that. Unless it's influenced in your story, there's no need to say it. You want to get the person's attention, because ideally you would have it on paper, like a treatment or a sample by the script. You want to give them your attention because executives, like myself, have 1,000 things going on, and so you get distracted easily. You want to get all your stuff at the top. But like I'm trying to do good 9 to 12 fast too. And so that's something you can say to yourself, but you do need to take breaths. It's like great when you speak up. What is it that you weren't? But the talking fast is a skill that a lot of people don't have. So you can give more in, just make sure what you're getting into the curtain and stuff at the top. I mean, your age, you say in your 20s, you can give like global stuff. I mean, usually a pitch is about 20 minutes. I mean, because we will sit and talk to you whenever, but I actually thought, like, I'm so interested, but I don't have a sense of what the show is. And I want to know what it is. I really care about the visual.
I want to take my microphone out.
Way ahead of you.
I don't know how to do it. So this time I'll leave it in. So, hi, that was great. I agree with their notes so much. Like, for me, the Roosevelt Island and public access and the biracial and like all of these key words to me felt really exciting, and those were that's what drew me in. But to me, when it really came alive was when you were done with what you had written down and you just started telling us about you wanted to see Black people come to life, not be shot down, and like that's to me that I really like. All of a sudden, I got it connected all the dots for me, like with the paranormal aspect. I thought that was really cool. So I agree. Like I would leave out like 24 or like 13 episodes, like certain details that like later on I can say, how many episodes do you see this as? Or so you said they're in their 20s, like roughly early 20s. Like those are questions I can ask. But I would lead with the thing that, to me, that's like what really brought me in. So I personally would flip it and lead with that, and then you can kind of, once you have my attention, then you can start telling me the details. Because to first hear something that's like, oh, it's 3 friends, it sounds like other stuff, but by the time you got done with it, it sounded like, oh, I've actually never seen what you're talking about. So that would be my big note, would to just be like, to flip it.
Cool.
But great job.
Thank you.
Also, make sure you tell me why. Sorry, Cam. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So anyway, make sure that you tell me why it's important to my network, right? So keep customers just enough to say, like, I think it's important on TV1 because of these reasons, or if it's audible, why it works for that. Don't say it's the perfect thing because it annoys us. We go, I can say I have the perfect thing for you because if you had that, you should have my job.
Right.
You should tell me why it works for
Right.
my network.
Right.
But good job.
Thank you. Great.
My name is Nancy Cecil. I'm not prepared because I just found out an hour ago, too, that I was on the waiting list.
Sometimes you'll get a meeting and you have to run to it and you're like, holy, I'm pitching. So this is a good experience.
It's good practice, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a short film, a doc. I actually started it 5 years ago. It started out as a cow that escaped slaughter in Patterson, New Jersey. I found out about it on TV, so there's a lot of news coverage about it. I thought, oh, I wonder what happened to my cow, and then I saw that it was taken to Woodstock Animal Sanctuary. And I went and I met the rescuer and decided that I wanted to kind of do an animated recreation of this journey of this cow took from having a number to having a name. And that's what I wrote down. And I wanted it to be about the animal that can't speak, but has dramatically asserted his desire to live. He becomes the hero of his own destiny. So that initial sequence in the beginning, since there's a little bit of nighttime footage, but it's very blurry, police lights, sirens, very disorienting, which is probably good because I want to tell that from the cow's perspective. But then I was also in Patterson during the day, and he went over a long, busy highway and over a bridge and into the water. And then an animal control person, a tranquilizer dart. And so he was subdued until he was delivered to Nirvana, which is where he lives now. And how does a cow go from having a number clipped into his ear to a name and claiming his life. So since so much time has gone by, in the meantime, a couple of cows have escaped in Queens. And it turned out it was the same rescuer. One of them survived, the other one did not. The one that survived is now living in Skylands, which is a sanctuary, a new one in New Jersey, that the guy who was the rescuer, he started on his own. So that cow's name is Freddie. So originally I was going to call it Mike, Run Mike Run, after the first cow, but now I'm going to call it Escape Artist, the true tale of Mike and Freddie. And that's it. It's going to combine elements of animation, as I said, documentary, TV footage, and I just contacted somebody who had a really nice clip of the cow that escaped in Queens, and he got the cow running along Tribeca Avenue. And then the cops are there, and they're actually, believe it or not, taking selfies. So kind of the public perception of this action. The thing that really interests me is that people are always rooting for the animal. I happen to be a vegetarian, but even people, and most people are not, and even people who are bystanders, onlookers, they're all like, go, 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 knowing that, thousands, hundreds of thousands are killed every single day, so that they're on, the person's plate. But I really wanted to make a film that did focus on that, because I personally can't look at that, and I think it's so disturbing that it really turns people off. But just to really focus on sort of the, the mind of the animal and the impulse.
Okay, so when you walk up to the light, you should not have told us you weren't like, you did not, right? Don't ever do that. Just always be prepared already. Like, have your stuff prepared. You never know when your opportunities will come. And if you're stressed out about it, take a breath. I don't know, use meditation. Breathe it in, breathe it out. And then when you get there, we wouldn't have known that, right? And I thought you had a really good line. Like, if you have your log line remembered or memorized, you can always use that to start it out. And you said something really good, like, how does a cow go from a number on his ear to something I forgot? Get to the man. I think that's a great way to start it, right? And then you can go into your connection, like set us up, and then go into your connection. I like that at the end, you told us like ideas of like where you thought it could be and what it would be. All that stuff at the end. Because by then I might not be paying attention totally, but you got all the important stuff up and front. I think that you were restrained personally because you felt like you weren't prepared, but you know your story. It's your story. So just own that. Don't ever get worried about, because how do you know what you understood?
I guess because I hadn't written anything, so I didn't feel like.
I thought you totally had me at a cow. Like I was like, I loved your
Animals work.
Yeah.
Animals work.
And I loved the number to a name. I thought that was so great. I think whatever it was that you read to us, I could not understand. Like that, just lose whatever that was. It was like much more like a thesis. Like when you were just talking to us, it really felt like it was from your heart, and like I totally got it. I'm not even a vegetarian, but I was like, oh my god, that's terrible. Like maybe I should stop eating meat. But then also again for me, you lost me again when you started talking about like the footage was disorienting. Like you kind of went into some of the like more details or the meat and potatoes that for me were a little bit, I don't know, it was a little sloppy for me, and that lost me. But I would say like the rest of the pitch is so great. The escape artist is great. The selfie is such a good image. Like I can see that, and telling me where the cow went. Like all that stuff as a filmmaker or as a producer too, I can see that it's very filmic. So I thought all that stuff was really great. Yeah, so that's my feedback.
Yeah, you know, I would really think about structure, how you sort of tell the story in your pitch. I didn't quite know what you had and what you wanted from us. So you mentioned it was a short doc, and then it took you a while to tell us what kind of doc it was, like the animation, which I thought was really interesting. But I had a hard time tracking. I agree with what both of the panelists said. You know, the emotion there was really interesting, but I didn't know what it was. And I think that was hard for me to know how I can help you. I'm assuming you probably need financing. I'm assuming you probably need a distribution home. But, you know, you mentioned it a couple times where you were at. I just would be really succinct with saying, you know, I'm Nancy. My story is this. I'm this far along in the process. I'm looking for that.
How you guys doing? Awesome. I'm Elliot.
I'm Paul Notice.
And we're the Notice Blog. So I started shooting with Paul probably about 3 years ago, right when I got certified over here at BRIC. We started.
Oh yeah, I mean we started making videos since I looked it up just before we got here, and it turns out we've made about 199 videos since 2016, and they're all it's become this larger phenomenon of telling stories from marginalized communities and from the perspective of people in those communities. So it's not just us putting in, but it's the story itself taking it hold by people who are basically affected by it. And so everything from formerly incarcerated Black queer women who are basically finding their voices through the giant monologues, now that's headed out by Tribeca, is freaking amazing. And it gives a different understanding of what being formerly incarcerated has to be to the unconnected, which has to deal with how broken windows is still the Black community. And it all happens when I get my bike stolen. I go on to school twice to get my bike back. It turns out that felonies if you have a larceny under $500, they don't care. Like in the area that I live in, Brownsville, the police are actually directed to not go after these thefts, even though we had the person who it was. So what is that like, and what does that affect in these communities? And the way that we do that is very much down to earth, but very much immersive. That's the whole point, is to try to get the audience to really empathize with these issues and understand it at a different level. So that's it. We've been doing this for a while. I think the biggest thing is just trying to have a budget so we can do it more regularly and put a lot more emphasis on the show as opposed to trying to juggle that with day jobs.
So what we have for you is
Yeah. Oh yeah. Obviously, you watch the copies.
So the show is called The Notice Blog. You know, it's powerful stories from marginalized people. The medium is obviously TV. And overall of it is, you know, an everyday Black Brooklynite discusses current events and conducts interviews with people from marginalized communities. As the series or the season unfolds, Paul uncovers unpublished interviews and vlog footage following a breakup. So there's a little drama in there. He discovers a larger social and political aspects that he didn't quite notice before. See what I did there? And he presents them to the audience. Now the narrative style is more so front-facing, single camera, it's a single camera docu-style segments that's interwoven between B-roll and real life footage that Paul and I take on the daily. So as it stands, we've had a lot of time in this. So
Sky, how much longer do they have?
Okay, you got 7 seconds.
All right, so essentially, that's what we have. We're proud of it, so I'm trying to share it.
Well, I'll say you caught me off guard at first because I thought you were working the event.
I am.
Oh, okay. But it worked for you.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, now I'm interested. I love that you guys clearly have a complicité, you have a rapport, which is really nice. I think the more you do this, the more that rapport will be actually more sort of natural seeming. Because there were some moments that it felt like you were we're natural together. But I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, you just need to keep doing it. But I love the concept, it's awesome. I think, you know, for me, I would love to hear sooner, like, just choose one of the, like, the vagina monologues. Like, yeah, I just, like, I actually liked that, and I liked the bike one. I liked both of them, but maybe it was too many for me, because it was, like, going, especially something like this, where just doing it, obviously you'll have more time normally. But maybe just choose one and go a little bit more into detail, like, what was your journey like to get the bike back? How did you find that guy? I missed some details that I'm curious about. So that would be my two big notes would be to, like, just keep practicing being natural in front of you. But then also just, you know, give us more details about one thing so that it can go into my brain more.
Yeah.
Because clearly if you have 40,000 minutes, is that right? Like, obviously you have other details. Well, 199 videos.
Yeah.
You have a lot of details you can tell me. So once I'm hooked, once I hear the journey of the bike or the vagina monologues, once I hear one of those, then I can always be like, well, what else do you have? But yeah, that's what I do, is kind of go deep rather than going long. I don't know if that might not be the right sports analogy, but yeah.
I don't watch sports, but I agree. I wanted to know what your show was earlier. I think your energy together is great. Like, I was like, oh, these guys are cool, and I think what they're doing is probably going to be cool. What'd you say?
First time.
First time?
First time being cool.
Yeah, I wish. I'd be cool. But I think that, you know, it was great to know your backstory and all the work that you've done together. But similar to Shayna, I was like, okay, but what's your show? You guys have all this expertise doing video, but I don't know what you're setting me up for yet. I would almost want to hear about the show, and then you can tell me why you guys are the guys to tell the story. I think this is great. You'll hear me. I'm kind of a stickler for knowing about format and knowing about what the actual thing is, because so often in the development world, you have to be able to sell it to your team and get your team excited about it, and they're going to say, well, what is the show? What is it? Is it scripted? Is it unscripted? Is it half hour? Is it an hour? And I think this is great. I love that you guys are mentioning your views. That's really important, especially for digital platforms. But again, I think I wanted to know a little bit more what the show was. But it's really cool. I think it's a really, really smart format. And it's cool that you guys are taking something you've already done. Notice Blog already exists.
Yeah.
It's cool that you're extending that brand into something longer form.
Sweet, thanks. Appreciate it.
So,
Thank you. Wow. Okay.
so I feel like you have great eye contact. Like, I saw you pan us, and we all felt engaged with all of us. And yeah, you're very comfortable. I also think that the other gentleman, you read what was on the paper. Like,
Yes.
I don't need you to tell me what I see. So if you're gonna do like a tangent, like when you do graphics, it's supposed to be complimentary. Tell me something that's not here. And I wouldn't have given this to me during your pitch. You give it at the beginning, but actually that's not even a good idea. You should really give stuff at the end. Because then I was distracted because I wanted to read this and I'm listening, so you lost me because you have my attention. You're in the room. Leave this as something you leave behind.
Yeah.
They even say that with like PowerPoints, when you do a PowerPoint pitch, there should be one that's for the room and one that you can leave behind. And the one in the room is really quick, right? The one behind is a little bit more in depth. I heard you and you were like, like they said, choose one thing that we globally can relate to. And I think we can probably all relate to the bike being stolen and under 500 and more than the genre monologues. But if it was Lifetime, and say that for Lifetime. And because you're saying it's for BRIC and that's what it's for, that's fine. But if you're doing a group pitch like this, I would say more generic. Like, I want to do it for a streaming service. I wouldn't say a particular entity. But if you're doing it for BRIC, then you say these are the reasons why I want to do it for BRIC. Thank you.
Hi. I chase 80-year-old strippers. Actually, I've been chasing 80-year-old strippers for so long, I celebrated one of their 90th birthdays with them this week. My name's Jakaba Honeychild, and for about 12 years I've been a burlesque performer, producer, and I am probably the world's foremost authority on Black burlesque history. I prefer the word heritage. The story begins in about 1890 at the Chicago World's Fair. There's this thing called the Creole Burlesque Festival, and it's happening. You know how like this weekend we're gonna have the Dance Africa Festival, and then up the street, the people that didn't get a booth at Dance Africa will be doing a thing? It kind of happened like that. But what was notable is inside the World's Fair, there was a woman named Little Egypt, and she's credited with bringing the hoochie coochie to the world. And this hoochie coochie is a neat fabrication too, because Little Egypt wasn't a belly dancer, and what she knew is she was an Egyptian. So, in that moment, this is an aside, but she caused the beginning of the tradition of American belly dance, because even then you didn't need the internet for somebody to notice that's not belly dance. And they came over here and started representing that. But outside, there was the Creole Burlesque Company, and they were doing something really special theatrically. These were the first group of African-American performers to take theater and locate it in this city, off the plantation. So, when we're dealing with burlesque in 1890, we're not necessarily at the place where we're dealing with the ba-dum-bum, ba-da-dum-bum. That comes in about, well, not much too far after that. But what we are dealing with is a situation where, of my interest, African American women are speaking their mind, they are gloriously dressed, and they are enjoying themselves. They are experiencing a sovereignty. And there's another double entendre here because the women were Creole. And when you see the ad, you see a group of women that look like they're your complexion, when indeed in reality they were more like your complexion, but Creole sold. So, we start from there, and I don't want to make a just straight Ken Burns documentary because there's so many pictures and it's very, very rich. So I see it as a multimedia altogether package. But just to speed you through burlesque history and heritage up to this point, what began to happen is the more ladies showed their skin, the more producers took note. And burlesque is the origin of the fashion runway. Because when the Minskys built the Apollo Theater in 1911, they built a burlesque house. And you gotta be able to see those girls.
It's time. It's red time.
Let's go.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Final sentence.
Guys, back on the timing. So basically, I spent a lot of time with 90-year-old women who stripped a lot in the 50s and 60s. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened in between there, and the question of it was, between me and Josephine Baker, no black woman has ever thought to do this. There was just an absence of information, and that's where my history research started jumping off through Ebony and Jet magazines. I've been shooting on and off. I presented it to ITBS a while back and made it to the last round, like the rejection you get a phone call with. That was great. And I'd like to bring it back again for ITBS and create a documentary film. And in folding it all together, I also researched Black pinup history. So the project's called Black Bombshell, and I'm looking for financing, producing mentors, and general guidance.
So, like before, we got interrupted by Sky. To remind you, I was going to say that was the perfect pitch. Like, you engaged, your eye movement was great, your subject was captivating. Like, I was in there, right? I really liked your pitch. So when Sky interrupted you, I would have not paid attention. But I think it like kind of like took you off a little bit because again, no one's doing a 3-minute pitch. Like that, I would just let you go on for a little bit. But in a real pitch meeting, producers, executives, and also the producers of the network will interrupt you. So you have to be able to let people interrupt you and just change up. And you can't get something set in time because you're going to give me some paper, or I'm going to ask you questions, or when there's Q&A, you can get yourself back in. So I would have been like, okay, acknowledge them and got to it. But I actually thought your pitch was really, really told me about yourself really quickly, why it was important to you. You gave me history. You brought all this stuff in. I thought it was a really great pitch.
You know, I completely agree that the world you created was fascinating. I apologize to be a broken record, but I didn't know what you were pitching until probably midway through. You started going into this amazing, and maybe I missed it, but you went into this amazing tapestry about Creole burlesque and your interest and your amazing opening line, you chase 80-year-old strippers, like, great. But I thought initially you were talking about a scripted series. I thought you were pitching a narrative adaptation of this world, and I think you got to it, but then you said the name of the title at the very end. So again, I agree that it's an amazing world, but I wanted to know what it was sooner, but I think that your passion and the world that you've created is, I said this before, but infectious. Like, I wanted to know more about it, I'd love to see more. And the last thing I'll add is I'd love to know who you think this is for. You know, obviously when you're pitching, generally you're going to a specific brand or platform, and you'll tailor it for that brand. But I'm curious, I mean, it's a really specific world, and I think niche does really well, but I'd love to know a little bit more about who you think the target audience is. You know, is it a streaming service? Is it PBS? Is it TV One? Is it Topic? You know, who do you really see this for, and why?
Wow. Now that you said TV One, I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea.
I know someone who's looking a little help over.
I want to see an episodic on ITVS because I want to follow through with that, and I want a feature-length documentary.
So what you want to say is you want to back to a pilot. You want to do a movie or a documentary that basically networks use to test and see if something could be a go-to-series. That's for a back to a pilot.
Okay.
And then you want to have series is it's adaptable, but ultimately I want it to be a series. That's what you want.
I want it to be a documentary.
Okay, but you
Yeah,
can
or
go
just-
back to a pilot.
Okay.
A pilot movie or back to a pilot documentary. It's just a way. So it's a way for us to test. So people don't have money to do pilots a lot. It's a way for us to test.
Mm-hmm.
And for these I thought it was really cool that you brought us both into it. Like, you read your audience and you referred to us. Like, that was amazing. So I like it.
No, I thought it was great. I loved the opening, like I really like went to all these places with you, like the 80-year-old who's now turned 90, and then the woman, I can't remember her name, but Chicago, like, I don't know, I just felt like I just saw all these things. So I feel like for me, as like, it was very cinematic listening to you, and then you did the little like boom chicka boom boom or whatever you did. Like all those details, even bringing up a cow, I know you got interrupted during that. Like my brain went there. So it's like, I just thought you had all these great details. I thought it was super interesting. I mean, I already was like, let's do it as, you know, fictional, like after that. Because, you know, there's all these people, especially like old ladies, and then you could do a little like, go back. I don't know, like see them young. I thought it was really cool. I do agree though that I would just come up like, maybe mention the title, like right after your first, once you get me with the like, I chase 80-year-old strippers, like once you say that, then say like, what was the name of it again? I'm sorry.
That's actually why I did it at the end, because
Okay.
I wanted you to hear it and forget it, because I'm not putting the name out there a lot.
Okay, well, once
Just
you
own it.
decide what the name is, I would say it like first.
It's Black Bombshell.
Black Bombshell, right. So
Name of it. Like, you're pitching it to people is in the world, and you don't do it, and wait till you're ready. Go copyright it. You're gonna have to take a chance.
Okay, titles are...
With my domain registry.
One thing to everyone about titles are so BS. Like, titles can be as cool as they can be. Like, Google is a terrible name for a company. Sorry, Google, if you're here or watching. But like, look at it now, you know? Like, you can claim a title and make it your own. And I think that, you know, titles, as, you know, all of us produce and create as well, you're always gonna be like, ugh, this title's bad. But I think if you own it and just roll with it, we'll believe in it too.
And we change titles.
yeah, you
We
can change,
titles.
that
Network
will change,
changes
yeah,
titles.
exactly.
It's marketing, so that we'll decide what's appropriate for us, and then recently our CEO and our owners are in the middle of our titles. So don't be committed to a title either, it's about getting your project done.
Awesome.
I'm gonna try to talk louder.
Okay, this is a multi-camera sitcom.
Yay!
Almost 40, Karen Dempsey, beauty entrepreneur, widow mother of 3, overcomes depression by opening up a salon in her kitchen of a Brooklyn brownstone. From flipping curls to flipping pancakes, Karen finds strength to move forward with the help of her newly divorced, childless best friend and a meddling mom, social media savvy kids, and quirky clients. This is Grace Under Fire meets Barbershop.
I personally like the concept and everything. Here's the things for me, I would just learn it. I mean, I think you know it, don't read it. That's the part that's not working. Just tell me about it, because it's all there, like I can see the, you know, the episodes and everything. And also, I liked that there was a song, but I felt like I wasn't sure what was happening. That was from your phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would either like clean that up somehow, really pull it off, or just lose it.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise I would just say, like, just tell it to me from your heart, like from your memory, rather than reading it, because it seems to have all these great moving parts that I think are already, you know, some of it is already stuff that I can see that exists in the world, and I can see, oh, that's like a trope that will work. But it seems fresh, and I loved when you said Grace Under Fire meets Barbershop. Like that, I was like, oh, cool! Like that's awesome. That's like great, you know, 2 awesomely different things put together. So yeah, that was my 2 notes are either lose the song, clean it up, and just memorize it.
Cool. Thank you.
I really enjoyed watching you pitch. I agree. There was something so playful, and I wanted to see your world come alive. I think you started out really strong. I agree with the song. I love the idea of setting a tone, and we mentioned this before, but oftentimes there's an opportunity to set the table a little bit with either a deck or some sort of maybe a concept that you've already shot that can give us a little sense of the tone. But I think it ended up feeling more stressful for you, and I think that you want to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
I think you went a little off the rails as you went a little deeper into the story, just because you started to then track all these different characters, and I started to lose the thread and sort of what was important about this. But I think that there was something really special about the idea. I would have loved to have also known why it's interesting to you. What is interesting about this story? What about these characters? What is inspiring to you to write this? Assuming that you're the writer.
Oh yeah, I just like to write. And I actually consult other people in PR and marketing, so this is fun for me. So this was just an experiment for myself, because I do have great ideas and I love watching TV, so I always like to possibly create something that's not on TV. So. Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say too is it's very polarizing how people feel about a comp, which is what we would call X meets X, or X meets Y. I like them. I'm sure people like them, people don't like them. You have to get them right, because sometimes people will be like, what is that? Like, that makes no sense. But I think it's really interesting to give it a tonal reference, and I'm glad you did that. So great job.
Thank you.
So I was listening to you and I was looking at your hair. Is your hair purple? No, it's the light. It's the back hair. Well, they helped you out.
Oh,
that part is
glowing.
great.
Oh,
right. And I would have started my music like earlier and had it on pause. And then when you walked up, you could have just had it. So we wouldn't have seen you getting ready for it. And I was also thinking, like, this whole thing is the 3 language race. That's really the elevator pitch. That's really what this is. So as much as I hate to say this, in my former boss, she could do a deck for everything. Like, she was like, oh, hello, I'm gonna do a deck, right? She did a deck for everything, and deck stressed me out. But your thing, I think it stressed me out. But your thing warrants a deck. Because there's so much going on, like a PowerPoint, right? And then you can refer to it, because that's a lot to remember. But you're right here, you have a strong voice, you have a strong presence. Talk to us. And so I would consider for you doing a deck, And I think overall, everyone in here should know, like, stop saying TV, unless it's really specific to a medium, say content. We're saying content these days. Like, there's not going to be, I go to all these seminars and all these conferences, it's not going to be TV, radio. People are just going like, oh, I need some content. It's going to be 45 seconds. The only biggest difference will be audio and video. That still exists. So say I have a program that's a short series that can really be anywhere. You don't want to knock yourself out. I think it works on Netflix because I've seen you do it. I think it works on TV1 because I saw such and such. I mean, you have to tailor it in the moment. But overall, I liked it. And you're here, make sure that we know how like
Thank you. Thank you so much.
One thing that I'll add to that too is I do think content is now ever present and it's everywhere. And I think TV, like when we talk about digital series at that topic where I work, and digital series to us doesn't mean Netflix or Amazon, it means short form. So I think everyone's perspective is different, so I think that's a really good note. But I cheered you on as you said it. I think it's important that you do mention it's a half hour, or it's an hour, or it's a digital web series, or it's a podcasting. I think it's important to qualify it, but I agree that TV means different things to everybody.
And let me just also say this, TV1 is getting ready to launch a channel for millennial women. And I also I sit on my sister station, or company is Interactive One. It's the largest footprint of Black verticals, we call them, on websites. And so often things come to me and I'm like, oh, this doesn't work for me, but I would take it over to the other division. But if I hear you committed to just TV, then I might leave it there. So if that's what you're saying, like I have content, he's right, say half takeover, that's better language than taking TV.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Christian. I'm going to teach a story. It's a future drama with rejection as the main driving force. Okay, so as two people live with the rejection in their life as a constant, the way that they have to get used to living with that over the primordial desire of that. A basic and a really common desire of the human being is the desire to love and be loved. And the character is a woman who thought she was happy and she already got the love. She got everything in her life. A beautiful family, a house, even a job. But she finds out that she is HIV positive. Her husband infected her. Her perfect life in some way falls apart. So to recover her life, she has to learn to accept herself and get used to being rejected many times. Thank you.
I wanted to know what was going to happen with the characters. Like, I think you sort of set it up. There are these two characters who are on a journey. Are those parallel journeys? Are they working together? Will they meet each other? I think with features, you need to tell the whole story. I think television is a little bit different because you can say, it's a story that you're setting it up about, the three women and doing X, Y, and Z, and we'll see what happens, or we'll sort of set up a conceit that will follow. I think in a feature, you want to tell us what's going to happen. I don't know if you have an idea of what that is yet, but that would be my biggest question to you.
Mm-hmm. So it's a romantic film. They are gonna find love finally about this whole pursuit, and that's gonna end.
So they'll fall in love. It's a love story between these two people.
Yes.
And then so she is HIV positive. I didn't quite understand, what is his journey? He can find love?
I mean, he's a scored, so all the time the people rejected him because, okay, he's super sexy and super hot and
Like, there was a preamble that was too much information about sort of vague stuff about love. But then once you said, she has this perfect life, even a dog, that got me. And then she's been infected by her husband with HIV. Like, then I was like, okay, now we can see stuff. When it's just like platitudes about love is important to people, like, it's really hard for me to come in. Maybe at the end you could say that, but I would definitely start, like, to me, I could see this woman's life and then all of a sudden why that would be devastating to someone. And that, I think in a movie, that would be sort of like the catalyst, right? So I think I would start with that earlier. And then I agree with Nick. I think like I would just need to know more like what happens on this on this romantic journey, because just them falling in love is kind of like, okay, but why is that 75 to 90 minutes? So it's like, it just give me a few more details about like, what happens? Do they fall in and out of love? How do they, I don't know, just tell it to me like as if you just watched it last night on Netflix. That would get me more, that would grab me more. But I really do like that, I liked that character sort of falling from grace in a weird way. It's like not her fault. So I think like starting with her would be really strong.
So I love log lines. I think that they are a really good way of getting people in. So you start with a log line, you set it up, and then you get people to you pull people in, right?
What's a log line? Yeah.
It's basically a one-sentence description of your movie, and it's created. It could be your marketing pitch. Think of it as your TV guide, like movies. Yeah, like TV guides, like we have TV guidelines, that's what they use. And we in fact make our producers, or as part of their deliverables, to do log lines and synopsis. So internally, my marketing team is using the synopsis, right? And the online team, but we have to still, I don't know if we do it anymore, but we used to put our stuff on like videos or whatever. And it's on those guides, that's the log line. I mean, we might edit it a little bit, but it's just an amazing way to get it in and you thought it through, you sell people on it. And then you can get into the movies. You know what I mean? And it's a lot to do when you're talking, so it's a hard thing to pitch a movie. But you can say like, you know, at Act 2, this is what's gonna happen. Or we start out like this, give me a visual. Like make it a story. I thought you did a good job, actually, because a lot of people they said, because I had two kind of group they said, but you did a really good job of not reading. You referred to it to remind yourself, but you didn't read. And that was really good. And you know your story. I talk really fast. Although I do a lot of public speaking now, and so in my company, like, oh, you become really quite slower when you speak. So you have an accent, and it's great, right? But everyone, this is your moment, and we are here because we want to hear it. So just pace yourself. Just make sure that the person on the other side can hear you. Whether it's fast speaking or accent or whatever it is, just take a moment and think about that when you're speaking. But I mean, I'm interested. I just feel like you need to tell a story, and not every detail, just the story that gets them through the different acts. Thank you.
I am a little bit more of a generation, so I'm going to just do it for you. People fall in love in mysterious ways. We were all taught that only talented people can sing. My show is that everybody can sing. And I want to demonstrate it right now with this gentleman right here who said he would come up on stage with me. I've never met him before. I don't know what his name is. Hi, Claude. It's nice to meet you. So, the things that hold us back in singing are all about our negative programming and negative conditioning. If you're trying to sing something in your head, you're like, you suck, go home, what are you talking about, don't put your face on. That is not going to work. It's just going to sabotage yourself. So, Claude, I have no idea whether you've ever sung a note in your life. I have no idea. I'm not here for the people who don't want to sing. I'm always talking to people in bars, and I'm like, yeah, everybody can sing. They're like, yeah, I don't want to sing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't want to play soccer. But for the people who want, right? People who want to sing, I'm here for them. The people who want to sing, but think they can't. So we're just going to do a demonstration. Can you sing for me, Pharrell's, because I'm happy, clap along, if you feel like a room without a roof. Just sing with me, right? Because I'm happy, clap along, if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy, clap along, if you feel like happiness is the truth. Sing exactly what I'm singing, ready? Because I'm happy, clap along, if you feel like a room without a roof. Like a room without a roof. Yes, sir. The first thing that we have to do when we sing is we have to breathe enough into our lower part of our bellies so we can sustain the whole phrase. Like this, watch. Because I'm a happy, clap along if you feel happy, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
every day in my studio. I have the people that come in that want to sing, that they've been told, you know, you can't sing, you should mouth words in kindergarten or whatever, right? So those are the people, they have to know. If you ask any 5-year-old, can you sing? They'll be like, yeah. Twinkle, twinkle, right? They'll sing for you. They won't even just say yes, they'll just start singing. So every day, all day long, that's what I do. I'm a vocal teacher in Brooklyn, here in Park Slope, and teaching for 19 years. And so we are creating our show, which is called Singers Anonymous. I like that it has an edge to it because singing is very personal. It's like reading your diary on stage. But if you start singing, talking in public, it's going to be like, whatever, I don't have to sing, so yeah, give me the microphone, I can talk. So people start creating breakthroughs in their lives, like asking for job promotions, like, actually, I don't want to be with my partner and I can't handle the inauthenticity in my relationship since I'm learning to be authentic in my singing and my speaking. So my show is not only about helping people to sing, but break through whatever it is they want to break through in their lives, and specifically if they have dreams. So my partner and I, who is in reality TV, he said to me, we have to heighten it. We want to make it, you know, bigger than life. So I want to take regular people, like Claude. Claude walks into my studio, he says, Julia, I want to do a Broadway audition. I want to make an album. I want to go sing for an opera company. And I'm like, okay, let's make it happen in a certain amount of time. So I can do that in maybe 5 to 6 weeks. So the show is an unscripted series, half an hour long. I work with 2 people each episode, and then we check back in on the other person from the last week and see if they think what not to wear for singing. That's what I'm doing.
You're adorable. I have to say that I cannot sing. My husband and my parents are the only ones who let me sing because they love me. But I thought it was just great, and I love the way you brought someone in to help with your pitch. I mean, if you were in my office, you might throw it to one of us. And hopefully it wouldn't be me that was the one that said it. But I thought it was really cool, and I love like your personality, and I love how you worked through your process, but I feel like that we got stuck there a little bit. Like we need to get, at some point I wanted to know what the show was. Like all that was great to pull me in, and then you needed to get to the show. Yeah. But I liked it. I think it was charming. Thank you.
I love Claude. I want your number. No, I thought the 2 of you together were so charming and amazing. You're so charming. The whole thing was, I loved it. My little notes are, don't say, I'm going to do a different pitch. Okay. Let me just see. As soon as you were like, oh, whatever, I knew it was going to be different. Yeah. So, you don't have to tell me. Also, once you got bogged down in like your partner who's a producer in reality TV, I don't need to know it. Just say, so now I'm going to heighten the stakes and blah, 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 blah. Because I really just started being like, oh, who's this partner? I don't know. I don't even think about that person. And yeah, I thought it was so charming, and I really could have watched the 2 of you for, I don't know. I thought you were great together. What's your first episode? Yeah.
Honestly, the show is you and Claude.
He's like, oh my God.
That gets the green light. Congrats, Claude. You're a TV star. I use such charisma, and I truly suddenly felt like we were on like The Voice. I was like, oh wow, this is click the thing, and I turn around and you win. I think you thought really nicely about the format. I mean, I think this could be a reality show that is a transformation show, and people love transformation shows. They do really well. Almost all the major networks that do unscripted look for that. Queer Eye just killed it on Netflix because it's just that, and it's feel good. I think you would want to make sure that the goals are a little more short term, because I think that you want one episode to have a couple of people. And I think that if it's something that feels like it'll take 6 weeks, it's going to be hard to produce. So I think thinking about those shorter term goals that are going to have big payoff and big emotion will really serve you. And also I think you're going to want to see different types of people. Because it's singing lesson, you know, I think what's nice about shows like Queer Eye is that you kind of are able to get all these different elements in. And I think you'll want to think about what are some other segments, what are some other games, what are some other opportunities to showcase not just singing lessons. But I think it's a really interesting format, and I think this pitch was great. Whenever there's something entertaining, when we have a good time at a pitch, we're gonna remember this pitch. You know, we'll then say, oh my God, she's an amazing show with Claude. Like that's, and me too. But I think that like there's something really, really compelling about you, and that makes us interested in your pitch.
I would also say, like, I might not agree with him about your changing it up in the season, because I often think that people should have a second season, like with their second season. So then maybe the second season you go out into the street and pull people the same like you did with Claude. So I mean, that's a stylistic thing. You might not want to give the network everything, and the network wants to be collaborative, but they really just want to have a say. Everybody wants to have ownership of it, but.
Yeah, no. And everyone's gonna have their points of view. I think that's great to see how different people think.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Black is beautiful. We all heard this many times. Yet every time we turn on, every time we turn on our television, we go to the movies, we listen to music, we get constantly bombarded with the idea that lighter is better. Current media, even today, or as recently as Viola Davis put it, still have a problem when it comes to dark complexion women getting certain roles, or even looking at them as if they're sexy. So to bridge that gap of representation, we, or should I say want to create a show called Just Like Me. So what Just Like Me aims to do, it aims to create self-love. It aims to recognize the struggle of women of color. We will be bringing in, for the monthly show, it'll be a monthly show. It's going to be aired, it's a 30-minute monthly show which will be aired each day. We hope to bring in, or we will be bringing in professionals who's going to be talking about topics such as self-hatred, the issue of colorism, which is a big issue among people of color. We will showcase kids doing great things so that other kids can see what they're doing. And the reason that we do that is because I was recently, and this is what inspired me to do this show, I recently was going through YouTube and on the internet, and I came across this little video about this young girl who was approximately 10 years old. And because, and this is her right now, because of her skin color, she was bullied when she had to switch her school. I also deal with, I work with a lot of shows in which I happen to see a lot, like I said, in the industry, where we're still not being represented the way we needed to be represented. So I chose to do something about that. And there it is, my show called Just Like Me.
So that's Kara's, and I was actually using the show for her on my network, but she's a little too young, but I love your idea. I love who you're talking about, and I love the themes. I'm not sure what your show is, and when you said that it's monthly, it immediately took it out of the realm of television, right? So like, is it a podcast, or is it something digital? Because I couldn't support a show that just came out monthly. I wouldn't do that on a network. I think that you have, is it a talk show? Or
It's a talk show, but like most talk shows, and the reason why I want to keep it, let's say, on cable television is because, as you know, most talk shows, when they air, they only air one time and then they're shelved unless they go syndication. So with the show that is being shown on cable access, you have an opportunity of showing that show monthly, and you want to keep that content constantly in people's face. Because the objective of the entire show is to change the mindset of people. That's what we want to change. And we know that from so many different studies, when people are traumatized, the best way to do it is to give them constant positive stimuli. And this is one of the ways to do it. You know, in order to instigate change, you have to change, changing the world. One of the first things you have to do is change what's within you.
So you know what, so that is really important that you said that you wanted to be, what did you say, cable access?
Cable access.
So that changed everything. Now I understand, because on my network I need to amortize. Like I can't have one show.
Yeah.
So that's perfect, now that I understand that. And I think it's really earnest, and I think it's a really important topic. But how does it sustain itself? And nowadays, and I was just talking about this, I just came from Vermont today, and we were just talking about this at this breakfast retreat. Things are inclusive. So yes, black women, dark-skinned women like you and I have a special role in society, and it's usually at a lower level, but you have to bring people to your conversation. So I personally would expand that to talk about women, make it a forum where everyone can talk about how you can find the commonality. There was a time in our history that no one was doing black content, but everyone is in it. So if you want to pull in viewers, you need to find a way to make that conversation inclusive. So, because light-skinned friends of mine will tell you how they feel about being treated. I just think you don't want to narrow your pitch. This is what I would say if you came to me, and I'm a black network, right? And I struggle we struggle every Black History Month. You know why? Because we're a black network. Like, what are we doing for Black History Month? Right? But we do something. I'm just saying, that's beautiful, and listen, I'm right there with you. But I also think that you need to figure out a way to make it inclusive. That's what I think.
And I agree with you. The reason why we kept it so narrow and maybe is because when I work shows, especially for, and I know that discussion has been there, but when I work shows, I see more people of lighter color than I see people of darker color. It's almost like we don't exist. And this is one of the reasons why we have the show. When you have kids saying, "Mom, why is Mom here this way?" I want to bring that.
So now I'm actually the head of my department. My boss is gone, so I'm the interim head of my department. And even I've been a TV for 14 years, and this comes up all the time because there's different races and colors. And one of the mandates in my department, programming and production, that I enforce is that we have to have a balance. And so when I worked at HBO for years, it wasn't a black station, but I made sure that we had a balance. I had a Latino, I had a black, I had a white, I had an Asian. There was a time and place for what you're saying, and I'm not trying to change your idea. So if it was a podcast that was on public access, yes. But if you're talking about a network, we're going to want it to be inclusive conversation. And you don't want your conversation to get old, because once you talk about the hair one time, or this one time, what's going to make people keep coming back?
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much.
Are you the host of the show?
No. The host will be, and this is really interesting, we're going to have
the show will just be, I think there's absolutely space, and there needs to be space for shows that challenge you and make you think and process information, show you different sides of the world. So my only note would be like, how can you infuse something within this format that still allows you to make change and feel compelled, but make us laugh or make us a little entertained? Because a lot of this is not meant to be entertaining. I think you're going to challenge and move us in ways, but I think it's important, like every show, to have different elements that offer different things.
So, quick question. If, let's say, one of the things that we're considering is like, when we interview kids and we're doing, like I said, extraordinary things, we know you can dance, you can do this. It's not necessarily just a talk show, right? And we're going to probably, hopefully, we're inviting some celebrity guests to also talk about their struggles and stuff like that. So is that something that you're...
Totally. And I'm not saying you have to have like a comedic piece, like that doesn't make sense for this format. Cool. But I think having field pieces or allowing outside of the studio will give a little bit of motion and movement than just like a, Charlie Rose or maybe a bad reference right now. But, a more interview kind of format.
Well, that's one of the things that we have to do. Thank you so much.
I feel like for me, my biggest note would be that I just wanted more details on like what Nick was saying, what the show looks like. So what happens in the show, just like, it wasn't until we started asking questions that we found out that there's 3 different hosts and like, you know, what are some segments, just something that kind of grounds me a little more, like, I totally get the theme and the topic, you got that. But yeah, I just need to like see more what does it look like in actuality, like in reality when I'm watching it. That would be great. So it's not like you have to do a comparison where you say it's this show meets this show, but just something that can get my mind to see what it is that I would be watching. That'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
And that's awesome. 2 to 1.
All right, guys. We all like to laugh, right? Yeah. Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams, Bernie Mac, all the great iconic comedians that came on stage and they made us laugh, bust out in tears based on their personal lives, you know, whether it's humorous or painful. And even Kevin Hart titled his show "Laugh at My Pain." Deeper Than Jokes is a 24-minute episodic cable drama that follows Connor Martin, who's a middle-aged city employee who moonlights as a comedian. Now, when he's on stage, the show takes us from his joke to the real-life story where it stems from. All right. The series is going to allow the viewers to experience, appreciate from the environment that the comedian incubates their joke from. All right, season 1, we're going to follow Connor and the harsh realities of his community. Season 2 is going to show Connor's trials and tribulations from at home and on the road. And season 3, we're looking to do
artists stemming from different areas. We select them from different areas, and each episode, a different team collaborates to try to create a hit music video. Contestants will be competing for a grand prize, and if they can showcase their teamwork and chemistry, they can win a bit. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to add a log line to Deeper Than Jokes where it's Seinfeld meets The Wire.
My question is, how did you get up here together? It's 2 different shows. Okay, got it. So I'm gonna go with you first. Tell me your name. Cordell. Cool. So I can totally see it. I think that it was too many. You named 3 shows, right? That it's like. But then didn't you say there was 3 shows that it was like, or no?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I would never. Don't do 3. It's too many. For me, anyways. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I would do 2 at the most. But otherwise, I totally got it. I could completely see that show. So that's my big note is don't have 3, that you're comparing to, and also I wouldn't go together next time, but that's okay because you guys are great. But and Claude, I love Deeper Than Jokes, and you got me like right away. You're like naming people, and I was like worried that you were gonna name some people who are now disgraced. Like there's Louis C.K. and Bill Cosby. Anyways, there's so many people. But no, you pulled me in. But the main thing is, I wish that you could just tell me a story from Kana's life rather than you said like season 1 is him and his environment or dealing with his struggles. But I don't know what those are. So, but like Seinfeld meets The Wire has definitely never been done. So I'm curious, like, what happens to Kana, right? Is that?
Well, remember, he's moonlighting as a comedian.
Right.
And he becomes a mainstream comedian and actor. And that's what we're taking him through that journey from New York City Public Highway to, let's say, Dallas Stadium.
Right, no, the journey I get. What I'm saying is, you're saying when he's on stage and he tells a joke, Colonel is really awesome. I agree with Nick that like eventually, like the more you think about it, the more you can have it be kind of more defined. You know, is it live action? What is the tone? Is it, or is it? And it could totally be animated. It could be any of those things. The kernel of it is awesome. So I think it could go a million different directions. But I think it's cool, and that would be all I would say is to just like, for you, sit with yourself a little more and figure out like, what do you really want it to be, or to work. I just think it's cool. Yeah.
I forgot that the resolution of it is that it's not just Black people or other maligned groups that have to fight back. It's, you know, allies as well as even the bigots who are like, oh crap, we let this thing simmer. We all have to like fight this now to like put this in the ground where it should have been. And so, yeah.
I was listening to you because I just live in Vermont, and my family very like, why are you going to Vermont? And I was thinking, get out the whole time, so you took me back there. I had the best time ever.
Well, I live in Colorado for a minute.
Okay, it was fine. I had the best time. But I loved the way you came in, and so these gentlemen could actually take to that, and you were like, I belong to a collective, and I have a whole bunch of projects, and then you told us this project, and then you were in my room, and we were like, what else you got? Because your pitch was so hot that I want to hear what else. Then I might not let you go. You might admit I have to go home.
Right. Sundown. There's a bunch of towns and cities all over America. We know some right here in Long Island. We know them all over the place. Where you know if you're a certain skin tone or you're a certain whatever, you got to be out of that city by sundown. And there's been current documentaries about it. But if you did the same thing on this kind of like subversive horror, I'm not even a horror person, but I think there's actual horror in reality of this country. And so maybe it's some spring breakers who just left like this idyllic HBCU somewhere where there's really beautiful like mix of students, and they're driving across country and they don't know any better because it's not the 50s where they have a guidebook that says stay here, sleep here, eat there. They just pull over and think that they could be it, you know, the sundown.
Seize the moment. You just did what I said. I love it. No, I think you did a really good job, and I don't know what to say on the things you're poised, you're comfortable, you do really good eye movement, and you're flowing in the moment, because this is a conversation. Sometimes I'm on that side of the table too, trying to push to my CEO or my GM or my president. So, thank you, that's the good news. That's great. Can I leave? Yeah, you sure can.
Corey Big Time. I think that's his real
time. I am a hip-hop enthusiast. My show is called Present the Best TV. We're presenting the best in entertainment, music, fashion, film, brands, communities all around the country. And we showcase them on the show nationally. That's what around the country. Basically what we do is we're like an Entertainment Tonight meets Hollywood Access type of show, but it's mainly for the flyest, most exuberant people in the world, which is the #1 music genre in the world, hip-hop culture. And we cover events basically for people who are next. Like, for example, this lady over here, she has a film that just came on a TV show actually. We cover her events. We work with a lot of A-list people, but we really focus on people like these who are next. So we work with all the festivals, conferences, launches, all the music companies, all the fashion brands that's coming out. I showcase them on my show. I've been doing that for 6 years now. So now what I'm doing is basically consolidating all of that and making it to a show and rebranding my platform, which is Presents the Best, and trying to take it to another level. So we work with, like I said, all A-list type of stuff, mainly for urban culture, but as well as the gutter. You know, we in places a lot of people won't go. You know, I'm in the trenches with gangbangers with cameras on and getting footage, and these people go from anywhere from 5 to 57 million a month. But everybody going there with cameras. I am. You understand what I'm saying? So not only, and I go to high-end places too. You know, I know how to put on a suit and get dressed and, you know, to be well spoken. But I also, you know, we're versatile. I added a lot of sex here, and a lot of women that, you know, actually highlight what we're doing, you know, on a different level. Everybody don't want to look at me all the time. You know what I mean? So for those that do, I'm there. Basically, that's what it is right now. That's the way it's pitched. I have a pilot that's on the internet right now. But like I said, I've been doing this for 6 years. I've been consolidating these segments and sending them to people that call us to go out. And, you know, we usually just give them their footage and do all of that type of stuff. But now, you know, I thought about it, so you know what, I might as well consolidate this, put it out as a show, and, you know, see what happens. And so far, you know, the response has been really well, and we already been out there so long, like people know that that's what we do, and they call us out, and now we're putting it together and just trying to make it grand for the culture. Right now, it's on the internet. I've been shopping it around. I have some paperwork here for you guys. And right now it's online, but I believe it belongs on TV because, for example, Entertainment Tonight, shows like that have been on the air for 50 years, you know what I mean? But they focus mainly on A-list, you know what I'm saying? I focus mainly, even though I showcase A-list, because the people that's next need to know that you are connected, and that's how they feel comfortable. So I focus on A-list, but I'm really focused on next. Like a show like Money and Violence, we did their first cast interview, and they only had 3,000 followers, and then now they have 1 million per episode, and they already got picked up in different places. So we know on the streets, basically, we know what's happening in the streets from all angles, and we cover that and we showcase that to the world.
What's the name of the show?
Presents the Best TV.
So you know you said next like a lot, and it's a good thing, because I keep thinking the show is next. So it's already an existing show. I would put next, like, you know, in your name, say your name.
Big Time.
So next with Big Time. That's just corny. But I'm just saying, like, you're building on a brand, and I wouldn't, like, everyone wants to be on TV, and like, if the world's going that way.
Yeah.
So I would say cross-platform. I wouldn't say, like, I would just say this is a cross-platform show. Like, and you can live on two networks. Like, people have to stop saying TV. Because television is not going to be what it is within 5 years and not the next month. Right? So you have to say cross-platform. And if it's something that already exists and you don't really want it to be tied to what already exists, then do a spin-on, maybe call it the remix of that show for you. But you said next so much, I would revisit somehow how next would be in your title. Because it is like, it immediately says to me, and I love X, something about the X is alluring to me, but it immediately says to me that it isn't necessarily a celebrity, it's a coming up person, up and coming person.
Yeah, I mean, that's our problem.
And I love your confidence, right? You know what I mean? Like, I love your confidence, but I have to tell you that you're really nice to look at, but I want to see some other men too.
Yeah. We're working. Right now, I'm branding myself, but we're going to get some fellas in here. Some consistent ones, you know, more focused.
I want them naked.
Say that again. You want what?
I want them naked. I'm just kidding. No, naked.
Oh, naked. All right.
But I just want to second the next thing. Like, the next thing is so exciting. I'm next. When I hear you say next, I'm like, oh, I want to be next. Like, being next is so much better than being A-list, because that's just boring. But, so I definitely think, like, I would put that somewhere and, like, let it sprout somehow, the next part of it. But yeah, you make me want to be on your show. Like, I was like, I want to be on this show.
That's what
so,
you will be.
but I think
you be one of the women.
Yeah, exactly. I always come with like an entourage of men in just underwear.
Yeah. And we could definitely
it's
show
true.
that.
It's actually true about
You
it.
know?
But so yeah, I agree. Like I loved your I like your pick. I like who you are. I want to watch more of you. Yeah, but I do. But yeah, I do think the thing is just you have to be next with this idea of like the digital, making it digital rather than like just seconding. But yeah, I was right there with you. Like I wanted to hear everything you were saying, and the only thing I objected to was that you were making it sexy with women, just because I'm so sick of women having to be sexy. But I understand that
cleavage or something crazy.
Well, see, like that pleases me, but I understand I'm trying to push the other direction. I need to see more men butts, you know? But you know, obviously we can agree to disagree on that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think
Well, when I do say sexy, I do mean just female presence I find sexy. So, you know, that's what I mean. To be honest, that's what I mean. I don't want you women in bathing suits not coming out saying, well, check out this show. The show is for both. It's for the urban culture.
I see you want to please both, and you're half joking,
Definitely.
half. But so you want to make sure that everyone who tunes in gets something from it. So the women want to see men. I mean, yeah, you're really cute, and I want to see you for like, I don't know, half a season. But then I'm like, oh, what's out something? Because she might get you, and then like I'm like, I can't have them, I want somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have a lot of, you know, I bring in a lot of sexy on the show, so hopefully you'll find
But I
out.
think the bigger picture and the joke when you look at the bigger picture is to make sure that you're able to reach a larger audience. I think that you have to be niche. Cable's niche. Digital is less niche. It is niche, and maybe people more. But everyone is competing for everyone's eyeballs. There's so much going on. So you don't want to isolate. That's what I was trying to say earlier. You don't want to isolate anyone. You want everyone to feel like they can come, even if it's not their story, even if like a white woman doesn't necessarily get my dark skin stuff, but she'd be interested because I correlated it with her, so she's interested. So you want women to want to look at it as well as men. That's all.
Yeah, definitely.
And not changing what you're doing.
Honestly, women might be the biggest viewers of what I do. I mean, I know I came off a little weird because I said the sexy, that was part of a little bit of my nerves, but it is definitely a balanced show. I definitely don't showcase too much crazy. You know what I mean? I try to keep it positive. Yeah, no, I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I echo. My question is it topical? Like, what's the release? Is it a weekly show?
Yes,
is it around
weekly.
Topicality? Is it around releases of films? Or
So we showcase not only the festivals, the conferences, the launches from labels and fashion brands that's coming up in TV and film premieres.
Good evening, everybody. I have a TV series. It's half an hour. It's a drama. It's called Purple Gang. The log line. A once extinguished Jewish crime family reemerges and runs rampant in the Crown Heights and Williamsburg sections of Brooklyn. Hyman High Bernstein is the great-great-grandson of Abe Bernstein, one of the original members of the Detroit Mafia, a.k.a. the Purple Gang. Following in his great-great-grandfather's footsteps, Hyman recruits 4 young men from his temple to wreak havoc on the city. From prostitution to drug dealing, Hyman wants a piece of everything. He's ruthless and aspires to expand business from Brooklyn to the Lower East Side of Manhattan and eventually other parts of the country. Detroit is on his list of places to conquer in homage to his great-grandfather Abe. Purple Gang is a suspense-filled drama that will have audiences on the edge of their seats. The premises of the series is linked to true events from America's history, yet it's still relevant today. As the show progresses, the audience will travel deep into the abyss, following Hyman and his crew into the dark shadows of the underworld. Hiding behind the shroud of religion, this 5-man gang breaks all the sacred rules to gain a foothold in the capitalist dream.
I think you've crafted a really interesting world, and it's one that really excites you, which excites me. Like, I get your passion for it. One question is, why is it a half hour? I mean, one thing that we're talking a lot about is television and the changing forms, and I think you look at shows like Catastrophe or Transparent or, you know, there's all these half hours now that were once upon a time comedies that are now treading into dramatic territory. We haven't quite yet seen the dramatic half hour. I don't think that because it doesn't exist, but I'm curious why you think this story necessitates a half hour versus an hour.
It could be an hour, but there's so much to watch on television. I want people to watch the show. So I'll give you half an hour, 10 episodes, only 5 hours of your time to tune in for the first season.
Great answer. Great answer. Done. Okay, yeah. The other question I would ask you is, I think you built up this really interesting cast of characters. Don't know if you need to go into all of them as detailed as you did in this forum, but it was interesting to hear sort of the backstory. You know, there's this big trend, which is actually now a little over, this idea of the anti-hero. You this character, this protagonist who is like kind of a bad guy, but you kind of root for them, and there's something really interesting about it. Hyman to me feels like that, but I don't quite know why we like him. It sounds like he doesn't really love his life, and then he is selling drugs and sex trafficking and kind of doing all these awful things. I would love to know a little bit more of any of your characters that you're going to talk about, why the protagonist is important and why we care about him. I didn't quite get that sense, and I would say that in a pitch of this way, in this manner, try to really focus on the key character and his journey and why we care about him.
There will be some Hyman jokes, right?
The jokester.
My great-grandfather's name was Hyman Sweet, actually, which is pretty crazy. Feel free to use that name. Your enthusiasm brought me in, and I don't know, I like watching you talk. Like, you're fun to watch, from your head to your toes, the whole thing. And I was just really, I agree with Nick about, like, I wasn't sure if I needed to hear about all of the characters, but then when you're like, that's the Purple Gang, I was like, well, that was pretty good. That was kind of worth having to hear about all of them. So yeah, I'm intrigued, and I thought, I think you're interesting to listen to, and I think it's cool that you're interested in this. And I'm kind of curious, like, what would happen with these people, and maybe how they butt up against, like, modern day stuff would be interesting to me. Because I get that they're wreaking havoc, but, like, and I'm just so curious about, like, how does that, like, whenever I drive through and see the Super Jews, I'm always like, well, it's good they're doing that because I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone needs to be doing that, but then I'm sort of curious, like, like, I don't know, like, there's Shabbos goys, and there's just all these other things that happen, so I would just be curious about something that's, like, kind of, like, just throwing in, like, a little tidbit about something modern. You can use Super Jews. That's not the technical term, but yeah, I don't know, that was the thing where my brain went, was like, well, what's some kind of, like, modern thing that's happening for these people, like, that they have to butt up against? Like, they have to stop committing crime on Friday night? Do you know what I mean? Like, what happens?
So, you're a great storyteller, and like, off the bat, as soon as you said what it was, I'm like, that's your story? That just got me, because that made me realize just how creative you are. Like, that you would go into a genre that's not necessarily what people would think would be the genre in. I think initially you gave a log line at the top, it was dope, and then you went into a little specifics, and then you came out, and I thought, like, halfway through, you could have stopped, right? And then we could have had a conversation. I had questions I wanted to ask you. And so at the end, you were using because there's just too much to take on. I think that I really hate decks, but they're there. So I think that you would turn into a deck, right? So you could just click it along. Your deck would just be pictures, like, a couple of lines about people, but you're such an amazing storyteller, I don't want to tell you to do that, but if you want to go that detailed into your characters, then you have to give them something to look at, because you start to lose it. The first half of it, like, even more, was just so good. It was really good. You are. And my only criticism is, and this is, I'm going to be a bad person, so please don't judge me, but I know you have a cane, and so, I don't know if boys have a cane, but you have a cane, you were clicking it, right? And so it was taking my attention away. I know, like, we tell people all the time, and you have something wrong or something. But if you don't bring anything to your pitch that's going to distract people. So, like, some people have a pen, or they'll do this because you're taking my attention away. And so you used your cane as a punctuation. Like, it was constantly a punctuation. It was cool. I'm so your name, don't judge me. But just think of that when you go into a pitch. Like, you can leave the cane somewhere, don't take it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everyone for coming, and I just want to say thank you to the panelists for valuable time. Give a few minutes if you want to chat with the panelists at the end, and please check out our website for upcoming pitch events in the fall. So thanks again, have a good night.